Chapter 10. Nothing has meaning but the meaning you give it. I realized 2 weeks into this process that I was beginning to create some significant internal shifts and breaking some old negative patterns of thought. The biggest shifts were around raising awareness to the meanings that I was applying to specific situations. This level of self awareness is critical to your journey as it puts you in control of your life and your responses. As mentioned earlier, 90 to 95% of our actions, reactions, behaviors, and thought processes are habitual and often unconscious default settings. So many people are sleepwalking through their lives, recreating the same old, hoping and wishing for change but not doing anything about it. Or if they do try to change, it feels too hard. They self sabotage at every turn and then give up, reinforcing the lie that I'm not good enough or change is hard. As you raise awareness to your patterns of thought and behavior, you break out of this sleepwalking. You become conscious and quite literally wake up to the lies and self limiting beliefs that have created your life thus far. Awareness is the first step to change. For example, in the past, I would have not thought twice, or rather, I wouldn't have thought at all about using my credit cards to pay for gifts for loved ones. During this 6 months in the so-called Petri dish in my paid in full journey was Jeremy's big 5-0 birthday. This represented a huge challenge for me because I wanted nothing more than to go all out and spoil him rotten with surprises and gifts galore, a surprise party, a romantic European city break, a shopping spree. This was the first opportunity to really break my old habits because I wasn't just going to assert willpower and not spend. I wanted to get underneath what was really driving my behaviors and effect true transformation. It wasn't easy, but I was making conscious decisions rather than acting unconsciously. So let me share how it was in the moment. Journal excerpt day 14. I burst into tears today as I had to speak to Jeremy about his birthday coming up next month. I would love to be able to take care of everything and lay on an amazing surprise for him, to book something awesome, all expenses paid. However, a quote, smart and savvy girl, unquote, like me in my current situation must be smarter than putting it all on credit card, which would have been my previous behavior. Not this time. I had to talk to him about my concerns and tell him that right now it's not my priority financially. It hurt my heart and I felt shame as I talked to him. The tears were so spontaneous. I felt ashamed telling someone, no, we can't do something because of a lack of money. That was a deep rooted emotion that emerged and explains a lot of my attitude in the past. I never said no because of money, because I didn't want to disappoint anyone. I didn't want to be disappointed for missing out myself, and neither did I want to disappoint the person I was saying no to. I was a chronic people pleaser. End of journal excerpt. This time, I didn't just burst into tears and wallow in feeling bad. I observed myself. I allowed myself to feel the feelings and dial into what were the stories that I was telling myself that were triggering these intense reactions. My story was that I was disappointing somebody, and because of that, I risked being rejected. I was scared of rejection or being disapproved of, and so it was safer to spend on my credit cards instead of saying no. Being conscious in the moment enabled me to shine a light on the lies and do what was right for my higher self. I was able to connect to the truth that love is not about how much money we spend on each other, and that I am safe exactly as I am. Jeremy may have been disappointed, but he certainly didn't show it, and he was fully supportive and understanding. And his loving response gave me the evidence I needed in that vulnerable moment to let go of my fears. Ultimately, Jeremy's birthday was a joyous celebration with both family and friends having a meal together and everyone splitting the bill. Funnily enough, there was a mix-up with the original restaurant booking, which resulted in us receiving a complimentary meal for two and a generous case of wine by way of apology from the restaurant owner. Birthdays for spouses and children are often big triggers for people who are wanting to pay off debt, yet also wishing to express their love through gift giving. I've now come to embrace all triggering experiences as growth opportunities. When you're triggered, meaning when you have a negative emotional reaction to an experience, it's often described as your buttons are being pressed, or as the wonderfully divine spiritual teacher and author Michael Singer says, the outside world is coming in and hitting your stuff. By definition, you have to have the button to press in the first place. Your reaction is never really about the current experience. Rather, it's the meaning you've given to that experience as it relates to you. Let's look at some examples. You've told your teenager to clean up their mess 1,000,000 times, and now you've come home tired after a full day at work to a washing up bowl full of their dirty breakfast, lunch, and snack bowls, plates, and cutlery. You feel like exploding. You've been at work all day and now you've got to clean up before you can even start to make dinner. Triggered! Perhaps you end up shouting and an argument ensues that ruins the evening. Or maybe you roll up your sleeves and do the job, chuntering and seething with burning resentment. But what is really going on internally for you? What buttons are being pressed? When I've done this work on myself and hit pause on my reaction to observe the unfolding thoughts and feelings, I recognized that I was reacting to a belief that I wasn't worthy. If I feel inherently unworthy, then I will be triggered by anything that I perceive as being a mirror to my lack of self-worth. That part of me is saying, see, even your own kids don't respect you. If I felt worthy and full of self-respect, on the other hand, then I would be able to depersonalize the kitchen mess and respectfully ask my teen to clean up while I get changed out of my work clothes, and then I can prepare a nice dinner. As I'm resonating at high self-worth and self-respect, I no longer attract or perceive experiences in the same low self-worth way. Make sense? Let's look at another example. What about if every time you see your ex-spouse, you feel angry? The same applies. That emotion of anger is an opportunity for self-reflection and growth. Are you holding on to past hurts and resentments that are keeping you feeling powerless? And your spouse reminds you of that. As you raise conscious awareness to all of those limiting thought patterns that are creating your experiences, you are on the path to true spiritual growth and transformation. You recognize that you have a choice in every moment. You can choose to let go of the stuff that is causing you to feel negative emotion, and it would be wise to do so every time, without fail, if you are wanting to grow and create the change in your life. Another pattern that I became aware of with the help of my coach Hasna was an internal conflict that had kept me really stuck for years. The conflict was that I wanted to be clear of all debts and be paid in full, and yet I was feeling gratitude for credit cards because they always, quote, bailed me out, and it was, quote, easy money. I broke down everything I knew about making money in my business. I went back to basics and created an immediate plan of action. I then replaced the gratitude I had for credit for gratitude for all the money I'd ever received. Hasna challenged me to list as many instances that I could recall of times when I really needed money and I received it. This was so empowering. Here are some of my examples. I had no money in the bank for groceries, and just like that, a client showed up and paid me directly to my bank account instead of Stripe, which would have taken days to come through. Thank you. I decided not to go out for a meal because I couldn't justify the spending, and Jeremy gave me a lovely card with £40 in it to pay for my dinner and a bottle of wine with my friends, out of the blue. I was worried before Christmas how I'd manage, and without saying a word, I received a gift of £500 straight into my account from a relative. Thank you. I saved myself £170 a month right when I needed it, when I rang my mortgage lenders and they gave me a new and cheaper rate on my mortgage. Thank you. Money from my tenant arrives in my bank account every single month without fail right before my mortgage payment goes out. Thank you. I had a sleepless night back in the early days of my business, and the very next day I created a program and launched it and got 2 new clients. Their monthly payment combined was the exact amount I needed to pay all my bills. Thank you. My latest launch of my group program saw 5 women jump in, all within a 12-hour window. That money came right when I needed it. Thank you. The more I expressed gratitude for money received as opposed to money borrowed, the more money I attracted and the less I considered credit as a source of money. I was learning to sever that tie, that belief that I was dependent on debt. Call to action. Let's dig a little deeper and find some of your limiting beliefs and the meanings that you've given experiences that cause you to feel triggered. So complete the following questions. I'm going to give plenty of examples for you. So the first question is to list out what experiences currently give you cause for negative emotion. List as many as you can think of. So here are some examples. 1. My children don't clear their rooms. They expect me to do it. That might make you feel angry, for example, or resentful. Example 2, when I sit at my laptop to try to write content for my website copy, I sometimes get overwhelmed and frustrated and then feel stuck. 3, when I think about my progress in any particular endeavor, I experience impatience and frustration. 4, another example, whenever I eat cake, I feel guilty. Another example, when I get to the supermarket till to pay for my shopping, I experience anxiety because I fear running out of money. Final example here, when I receive invitations to social events that are going to cost money, I feel frustrated because I have to say no. Okay, so step 2 is to dig into the meaning and therefore the limiting belief that each of these experiences hold for you. So remember, nothing has meaning but the meaning you give it. So take each of those experiences you've just described one by one and let's dig in. So here are some of the corresponding examples that I've given. First one, my children don't clear their rooms. They expect me to do it. So it could have meaning of my children don't respect me, which could have an ultimate belief of I'm not respected. When I sit at my laptop to try to write content or my website copy, I sometimes get overwhelmed and frustrated. The meaning could be I can't do this. The belief could be I'm disempowered, for example. The third one, when I think about my progress, I experience impatience. The meaning is I'm not where I should be, which could be an underlying belief of I'm not successful or I'm not good enough. The other, I ate that cake and now I feel guilty, could underpin a belief that I have no control or I'm undisciplined. When I get to the supermarket till to pay for my shopping, I experience anxiety, underlies a meaning that there's not enough money and I'm not abundant, could be the belief. When I receive invitations to social events that cost me money, I feel frustrated because I have to say no, could underlie the meaning money is tight, I'm in lack, I can't afford what I want. So what have you recognized as a belief and therefore a frequency that isn't serving you as a result of this exercise?